Now. Okay, ready, go.
Ready, Santa.
Okay, full power. Anyway, hey, folks. Welcome to another basement show short. That's right.
Yay.
That's right, baby. Yeah. All right, we'll get right into it. Down to business. All right, here we go. The Legend of Mercy Brown, Rhode Island's last vampire. In 1892, tuberculosis was the leading cause of death in the United States. Then known as, and I quote, consumption.
Ugh.
Its symptoms included fatigue, night sweats, and the coughing up of white phlegm or even foamy blood. Lovely. There was no cure or reliable treatment for tuberculosis. Physicians often recommended that a patient affected by the disease should rest, eat well, and exercise outdoors. Yeah, sounds full.
As if that will help at all.
Or as if that's even an option. Of course, these home remedies were rarely successful. Gee, I wonder why. People with active tuberculosis had an 80% chance of dying from the illness. Well, I'm not going to be out running if I'm that close to death. I'm trying to enjoy myself.
Yeah.
The terror surrounding such a gruesome death helps explain the madness that befell the small town of Exeter, Rhode Island, at the end of the 19th century. Residents began to fear a vampire named Mercy Brown was causing consumption-related deaths in the town, even though she was already dead from that same disease. It all started when a farmer named George Brown lost his wife, Mary Eliza, to tuberculosis in 1884. 2 years after the death of his wife, his oldest daughter died of the same illness. Before long, tragedy would strike the Brown family again. As the family members died one by one, people began to suspect that the reason was something far more sinister than a disease. The rest of George Brown's family appeared to be in good health until his son Edwin became seriously ill in 1891. He retreated to Colorado Springs in the hopes that he would recover in better climate. However, he returned to Exeter in 1892 in an even worse state.
You ain't bouncing back from tuberculosis,
No way,
my
man.
friend.
Sorry, pal. Within the same year, Edwin's sister, Mercy Lena Brown, died from tuberculosis when she was just 19 years old. And with Edwin deteriorating rapidly, his father began to grow increasingly desperate. Meanwhile, several concerned townspeople kept telling George Brown about an old folktale. Basically, the myth claims that when members of the same family waste away from consumption, it might be because one of the deceased is draining the life force from their living relatives. Indeed, on the morning of March 17, 1892, a doctor and some locals exhumed the bodies of each family member who had died of tuberculosis. They found skeletons in the graves of Brown's wife and eldest daughter. However, the doctor found that the 9-week-old remains of Mercy Brown looked startlingly normal and undecayed. Furthermore, blood was found in Mercy Brown's heart and liver. This seemed to confirm local fears that Mercy Brown was some kind of vampire who had been sucking life from her living relatives. The doctor tried to explain to the townspeople that Mercy Brown's preserved state was not unusual. After all, she'd been buried during the cold winter months. Nevertheless, superstitious locals insisted on removing both her heart and liver and burning them before reburying her. The ashes were then mixed with water, fed to Edwin. Unfortunately, this supernatural concoction did not cure him, as people had hoped.
Jesus.
Edwin died a mere 2 months later.
Yeah, I bet he did.
Yeah, such practices of digging up and burning the deceased over fears of vampire-like creatures were not uncommon in many Western countries until the early 20th century.
Yeah.
But while the Mercy Brown case was far from an isolated incident, her exhumation came at the end of an era for these vampire-inspired rituals.
It's the end of an era.
That's right. While Mercy Brown had a very short life, we can assume her legacy as the last New England vampire will live on forever, thanks to stories passed down over the years.
Now, people visit her grave and they leave things. They leave things like vampire teeth.
I was just gonna say those fake
and the
vampire
fake fangs,
teeth.
and they leave like notes and stuff for her.
Right.
I've been to that cemetery. It's a very it's a small cemetery.
Does it suck?
And off to the side, there are these like these crypt rooms.
Ooh.
And one of those crypts is where they kept her body until they were going to bury her.
Mm-hmm.
And to the right of the crypt is a huge rock.
Yeah.
Now, when they were talking about taking out her organs and stuff and then feeding them to the sun,
yeah,
that rock is where they did it.
What?
They just pulled her body out of the thing and then took her over to the rock, and they were so paranoid and afraid. They basically like she was basically drawn and quartered on the rock.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
They were like, "You ain't coming back."
Yeah, I guess not. You know, what's their favorite candy? Reese's Pieces? Jeez, pieces everywhere.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we learned a lot today.
We did.
All right, folks. Thank you for tuning in. And please take us Basement Show on the go. Listen to us wherever you go. And we love you. And you love us. Keep an eye out for more shorts. All right.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.
Yes. Yes.